Tears fell as Samuel West said goodbye to his beloved mother, Prunella Scales. The celebrated British actress, best known as Sybil Fawlty in Fawlty Towers, passed away peacefully at her London home at the age of 93 after a long battle with vascular dementia. To the world, she was a comic legend. To her son, she was a loving mother whose warmth and wit endured even as her memory faded. Samuel revealed that his last proper conversation with his mother took place about 2 years before her death. It was a short but unforgettable exchange. She asked me, "How old am I?" He recalled. I told her, "You're 91, Mom." She paused and said, "91?" It was beautifully enunciated and perfectly timed. Pure Mum. That brief moment of humor stayed with him, marking the last time they truly connected through words. Prunella's illness began quietly. In 2001, she started struggling with memory lapses and was officially diagnosed with vascular dementia in 2013. Yet, despite her declining health, she continued to share tender moments with her husband, actor Timothy West. Married for 61 years, they were one of Britain's most enduring acting couples. When Timothy died in 2024 at the age of 90, Prunella followed less than a year later. Samuel later reflected that they probably went in the wrong order, though he found comfort in knowing she didn't live long without him. Her dementia journey was slow but filled with love and grace. Even in later years, she remained gentle and calm. Samuel said she was rarely anxious or angry, remarkable for someone with her condition. She seemed content most of the time, he shared. We were lucky. Their family could afford the medication and care that helped slow the illness's progress, and that stability gave her a peaceful life. One of her happiest moments came on her 90th birthday. Samuel invited people online to send her messages of love and admiration. The response was overwhelming. More than 6,000 people replied. He printed every note and bound them into a book over 100 pages long. She loved it, he said. She turned the pages, smiling and laughing. She wouldn't remember them later, but in that moment, it was beautiful. Even as her condition worsened, glimpses of the old Prunella occasionally appeared. At an event in Rye attended by Queen Camilla, she recognized the Queen and even shared a few laughs. She seemed to know who the Queen was, said Giles Brandreth, who hosted the gathering. If you hadn't known she was ill, you might not have noticed anything wrong. These small, bright moments reminded her family of the vibrant woman she once was. Despite her frailty, she stayed at home with the help of carers and a stair lift that allowed her to keep sleeping upstairs. She went out occasionally and even watched her 8-year-old grandchild perform at St. James's Piccadilly, the same church where Timothy's memorial had been held. Photographs from that day show her smiling proudly beside her grandchild, proof that love and joy still found their way through the fog of illness. Samuel shared that one of the hardest things about his mother's condition was seeing his father lose his lifelong companion. Timothy often struggled to understand where the woman he knew had gone. They had always balanced each other perfectly, both equally talented, equally famous, equally funny. He couldn't quite accept that her wit had disappeared, Samuel said. They always made each other laugh. That was their secret. Even as dementia took hold, humor remained a quiet thread connecting them. Prunella once joked, "I don't always know where I'm going, but I always enjoy getting there." Samuel says that line perfectly, summed up her attitude toward life, and it's one he now carries himself. He also offered heartfelt advice to others caring for loved ones with dementia. "Hearing is vital," he said. "A hearing aid can make all the difference. Replace the batteries, make sure it's working. Don't rely on the person with dementia to remember. Connection slows the disease. Once conversation fades, it's a one-way street." His message resonated with many families living through the same experience. For all her humor and composure, Prunella's illness brought quiet sorrow. Acting had always been her escape, a way to become someone else. As dementia took away her ability to perform, she sometimes grew sad. "I think my mother didn't always love being herself," Samuel said. When she couldn't pretend to be somebody else anymore, it upset her. Still, her carers provided kindness and stability, and she developed a special fondness for one of them. Samuel said with a soft smile. She was in love with her carer, a very nice young woman. When Prunella passed away, tributes poured in from across the entertainment world. Her Fawlty Towers co-star John Cleese led the messages of love. How very sad, he wrote. Prue was a wonderful comic actress. Scene after scene, she was absolutely perfect. A very sweet lady. I was very fond of her. He later shared photos of them laughing together, capturing the warmth of their friendship. Her sons, Samuel and Joseph, released a statement confirming that their mother had died peacefully at home and that she had been watching Fawlty Towers the day before she passed. Although dementia forced her retirement from a remarkable acting career of nearly 70 years, they wrote, she continued to live at home, comfortable, contented, and surrounded by love. The image of her watching the show that made her a household name one final time was a poetic close to her story. In interviews, Samuel spoke lovingly of his parents' marriage. There were two great blessings, he said. They worked about the same amount of time, were unemployed for about the same time, and were roughly as famous as each other. Most of all, they always made each other laugh. Their partnership had weathered the highs and lows of fame, and even in illness. Their bond never broke. Prunella's public persona often overshadowed her quieter personal strength. She was sharp and determined, but off-screen she was gentle and thoughtful. Friends described her as the kind of person who remembered names, asked after families, and never made others feel small. When her memory began to fail, she remained gracious and polite, often thanking people even when she wasn't entirely sure who they were. Her love of canal boating with Timothy became a symbol of their shared resilience. Together, they hosted great canal journeys, where they navigated Britain's waterways and reflected on their lives and careers. Even as her dementia advanced, she found joy in those trips. She would smile at the scenery, comment on the birds, Samuel recalled. It was peaceful. It kept them both happy. As her illness deepened, Prunella's world grew smaller, but it also grew gentler. There were no angry outbursts or deep confusion, just moments of forgetfulness followed by laughter. She would often forget what day it was, but never forgot kindness. Her carers spoke of her warmth and how she brightened the room even when she said little. When Timothy died, she was not aware enough to fully understand his passing. Samuel admitted that this, strangely, was a small mercy. She wasn't well enough to know he was gone, he said. It sounds sad, but at her age it might be a blessing. She wasn't mourning a 61-year marriage. In a quiet way, it spared her pain. Her story reminds the world that dementia, though cruel, doesn't erase the person entirely. Beneath the confusion, there can still be peace, humor, and love. Prunella's final years showed that. Samuel said his mother was quite content, still smiling, still radiating the calm presence that defined her private life. After her passing, fans from around the world shared memories of how she made them laugh. Many spoke about Fawlty Towers, how Sybil Fawlty's sarcasm and sharp wit were unmatched. But others remembered her dramatic performances in theater, her intelligence, and her kindness off-camera. To them, she represented an era of British acting built on craft and humanity. For Samuel, the loss of both parents within a year was devastating but also grounding. He spoke with gratitude, saying, "My parents lived full, rich lives. They gave me everything I could have hoped for." He added that his father had always said the key to happiness was laughter, and his mother had lived that truth every day. Now, when Samuel performs on stage, he feels their presence. He said that the thought of them not being there to see his work makes him deeply sad, but also proud. They shaped everything I am, he said. Their love, their humor, their sense of purpose, it's all in me. In remembering his mother, Samuel paints a portrait not of a tragic figure, but of a woman who lived fully, loved deeply, and faced illness with courage. She once said, "I don't always know where I'm going, but I always enjoy getting there." It is a line that sums up her philosophy of life, accepting uncertainty, but finding joy in the journey. Today, her family holds on to that spirit. They remember her laughter, her impeccable timing, her love for Timothy, and her kindness to everyone she met. They remember the twinkle in her eye when she read her birthday messages, the way she lit up at her grandchild's song, and the way she made the world laugh without ever trying too hard. Samuel West's goodbye is not just a farewell to a mother, but to a chapter of British culture. Prunella Scales leaves behind a legacy of laughter, elegance, and heart. Though dementia stole her words, it could never touch her soul. In her final days, she was calm, loved, and surrounded by family. She drifted away peacefully, perhaps hearing echoes of her own laughter from faulty towers playing softly nearby. And as her son wiped away his tears, he smiled, remembering her favorite saying, "I always enjoy getting there. Goodbye, Prunella. You made the world laugh and you left it a little kinder. Your voice, your humor, and your grace will never be forgotten."